Welcome to the Worth Listening podcast, where we focus on having positive and productive conversations about money. Join your host, Lauren Williams, four-time Olympian turned financial planner, as her guests share their money stories. We aim to help you own your personal money story and feel good talking about it. Money is a tool that can help you live the life you want. You should feel comfortable listening, sharing, and communicating about it. Now, here's your host, Lauren Williams.
Thanks for tuning in today. This week, I sit down with Miracle Olatunji. This 17-year-old has her head on straight and has an understanding and passion for organized personal finances that I have not seen in many adults. She participated in the Diamond Challenge, which is a program designed to provide high school students around the world with opportunities to experience entrepreneurship. Her participation grew her interest in entrepreneurship, and she has now founded two organizations. One is Opportunity, and the other, the Miracle Organization. Yep, that happened, and she's still in high school. Miracle shares with us the lessons that she learned as a child about money and how she continues to grow her understanding of finances and the importance of them right now. This young lady's future is bright. Here is Miracle Olatunji sharing her money memoir with us. All right, everybody. Today we have a great guest coming to talk to us about her money memoir. Miracle Olatunji is a senior in high school and is going to tell us all about herself. Miracle, it's so great to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this.
So let's just start with the beginning of your story. Where did you grow up? And tell us a little bit about what your first memory of money was.
Okay, so I'm from Delaware. I grew up in Delaware. And so my first money experience would honestly be seeing my parents give money to those in need. And so from a young age, I realized how powerful money really was. And so in this instance, seeing my parents give money to those in need and seeing their eyes light up when they got money and they'd say, "God bless you," and things like that, I would see how money can really be powerful and make people's lives better. And also when I was growing up, my parents taught us the importance of saving money over spending. And they really emphasized the whole idea that money is something that's very powerful and that you can get what you want, but you should really be smart about it. And so from a young age, I really learned how to be smart with money. And lastly, another thing my parents did was money was an incentive for us. We wouldn't get allowances, but instead, for keeping good grades, they would give us money each marking period every time we had honor roll or straight A's. That was our incentive to do the right thing. So we didn't get allowances. We were really focused on money as a reward and money as the ability to help other people, like make people's lives better in the instance of giving money to those in need.
So what was the sort of money conversations between you and your siblings and your parents? Was it an open environment to talk about money?
Yes, there was a very open environment. So what they really instilled in us was that money, like I said, is super powerful, empowering, but they really emphasized that you should save your money because it really comes in handy. And also it's just, being smart with your money. That's what they really instilled in us from a young age.
Definitely. Did you have a piggy bank when you were little?
I did not. So what I would do was I would collect all of my money. I had a drawer actually where I put all my money in. And so at the time PNC started this program. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but at the end of each week, we would go to the bank with my mom to put it into our bank accounts. So we were really encouraged to save money. And then at the end of the week, just take it to the bank and get it deposited.
That is such an awesome story that from a very young age, you were putting money into the bank. So you were already becoming educated about what the bank was, about the idea of saving and putting it away so that's not readily available to you. What else did you learn about the actual bank? And at what age was this?
This was around 7, I believe. And so with the bank, I learned that there's two types of purchases. There's the short-term purchases and there's the long-term. And so the bank to me was just kind of thinking of long term. You're putting your money away for bigger things that you might have to purchase along the way. So like college, I was thinking about college from a young age. And then the shorter term purchases were the emphasis on saving your money, because a lot of times people want to make these impulse buys right away. And so going to the bank really taught me about saving for the long term the unexpected or for the bigger goals that you want to accomplish in your life.
Okay, so if you had to sum up like the theme of what your childhood experiences were like with money, how would you describe what the overall theme was?
Save for tomorrow and be smart today. So that's what I would kind of phrase it as. So with the saving for tomorrow, it goes back to the long term, like thinking about the bigger purchases or the larger goals that you would have to use money to buy. And then being smart with your money is making sure that you're doing the whole save above spending. And if you do have to spend, make sure that your spending is smart and you're actually buying something that you really need.
So how do you go about deciding what it is that you want to spend money on? Or are there any kind of rules or guidelines you have in place for whether this is a worthwhile thing to spend money on or something like that?
So I'm really big on the whole quality over quantity thing. So I actually spend a long time deciding before I purchase something. I look at the quality and see if this is worth the money, because sometimes things will be cheap, but like it's not good quality. So that would obviously be not a good buy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Sometimes something that you buy that's more quality will last a lot longer.
Exactly.
It's going to end up costing you more in the long run.
That's so true.
Let's fast forward a little bit to like age 16-ish. That's when a typical student, you're of the age to drive, 15 or 16 years old.
Mhm.
Did you get a car right when you turned 16? Were you saving up for a car since you started saving at 7? What was that like?
So the school that I go to, you are allowed to drive to school. I personally did not save up for a car because I thought about how I could save more money instead of paying all this money to get a car and like paying for gas every week, because I go to school 5 times. If I need to get anywhere, I have my parents' cars that I can take. And then also I can save a lot more money if I just ride the bus. It's free transportation. And then at my school, there's not really a lot of parking spaces. So it's very hard to actually like get parking. So there's a lot of different conflicts with that.
Gotcha. So what would you say is the general mindset around money at your school? Are most people savings oriented as you are? The most 16-year-olds are like, oh my goodness, I want a car. I need a car right now. If they can't afford one, they're trying to figure out how they can get that. And you're saying, no, I can borrow my parents' car if necessary. And the bus is okay. And is money talked about openly at your school? And are people into saving?
Like you said, a lot of people want to get a car as soon as they turn 16. But another thing to keep in mind is that when you just finish driver's ed, for instance, and you're just getting accustomed to the road. And so what ends up happening is a lot of times people get in accidents. They'll mess up their cars. It's just an accident is a huge liability and it often costs you a lot of money. And so a lot of people actually will ride the bus to school. There aren't that many drivers. And so a lot of people are really into saving their money, because a lot of people, when you're in high school, you're thinking a lot more about college and how you're going to pay for college. And so a lot of people have that mindset of, let me be efficient now so that I can enjoy later.
Definitely. All right. So at one point, you got involved in an organization called the Diamond Challenge, a global entrepreneur competition. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how you found out about it and what all that entailed?
Yes. So I love the Diamond Challenge. It's phenomenal. It's the largest global entrepreneurship competition for high school students. So we have people competing from all over the world. We have Russia, Liberia, Spain, everywhere. It's just really amazing. A lot of young minds will come together and form business plans or social impact plans. Some of them will actually go follow them through, and others, they're kind of just in concept stage. So whatever stage you're in, whether it's an actual product or service, or if it's just in the idea phase, you can still participate in this competition, and you get a lot of access to mentors and people who can give you advice on your business plan or your social impact plan. And I really like the Diamond Challenge because it teaches you a lot about teamwork and being a self-starter, which I think is a really important skill to have, whether you are an entrepreneur or not. You can really benefit a lot from having those skills. And so I'm really excited to be part of that organization and helping promote their mission of igniting entrepreneurial spirits among youth.
What are the qualifications in order to be able to participate?
So you have to be in 9th through 12th grade. So in high school, you can't be any younger or any older than that. You have to be a high school student in order to participate. It's a very open competition. That's kind of the big qualifier, just be in high school.
Gotcha.
And you have to have a team of 2 to 4.
Okay, so 2 to 4 people competing. So you participated in this competition. And it led you to wanting to start your own entrepreneurial efforts. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So the Diamond Challenge was just a life-changing experience for me. Going into it, I didn't think I was interested in entrepreneurship at all. And then afterwards, I just gained so much value from learning how to be in a team and how to communicate my ideas and how to really act on my ideas. And that really helped me. And I really kind of fell in love with entrepreneurship. And it's something that I'm now really passionate about. And so I started Opportunity. This stemmed from a personal problem that I had. I found that it was very hard as a high school student, very time consuming to find opportunities like summer programs, internships, just through the traditional way of searching on Google, saying like high school programs, internships. It was time consuming and a hard process. And I thought, okay, this is a problem that I'm experiencing myself. What are other high school students thinking about this as well? So I sent out a survey to just a little bit over 100 students, and it confirmed that this is also a problem that students face from all over the country. And it was really interesting because I was able to get people to respond from different areas of the country. And it really allowed me to see like this is a national issue that other people face as well. And so currently Opportunity is a newsletter. It goes out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And it has different opportunities for high school students like internships, scholarships, summer programs, just anything that would be relevant to a high school student. And we really focus on getting the best opportunities that are out there, high quality. I'm a really big stickler for quality because I want it to be worthwhile, because our mission is that these opportunities are ways for high school students to discover self, career, and passions that they might have that they didn't know that they really have. Because for me, that was how I felt with the Diamond Challenge. Like I didn't think that I was interested in entrepreneurship until I did it. So we really focus on seizing the best opportunities. And then another aspect is to create the best opportunities. So if there's an opportunity that doesn't exist, what I'm really working on, the goal, the vision is to be able to partner with companies and organizations to create new opportunities that don't exist. Because there are a lot of things that high school students want to do, but sometimes they're not out there, or they are out there, but it's hard to find. And so I'm currently working with a developer to get the website platform developed in the next few months. And so if you subscribe to our newsletter, you'll be able to know when we're launching, and you'll also get to see the different opportunities that we highlight every week.
That's really awesome. I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive here. When you decided to start Opportunity, what did that look like? You did the survey, but like in actually setting up an organization. And another part is that are you 18 now?
Yes, I'm 18.
But you started when you were 17 or 16?
17, yes.
17. Okay. So you were still a minor in that sense. So like what role did your parents play in helping you get documents in place or starting a business, maybe understanding LLC or, however your business is set up, et cetera? Where did that research go, and who was the support system that helped you get this from idea to this is a real business?
I reached out to someone that I met through the Diamond Challenge. So I'm actually still in the process of getting the LLC. So I reached out to her because I was like, how do I get to the legal side of this? And so I asked her, how do you do it? And it was really simple. I just called up the company that's in charge of all of this, and now I'm in contact with them. We're talking about how much it costs, doing all the paperwork. And so I'm in the process of doing it actually right now. So.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about maybe your relationship with your parents and what role they've played in these money experiences that you've had growing up all the way to this point. So like right now, how involved are they with Opportunity, the ways that they're supporting you and further inspiring you and educating you about being organized with your finances as you pursue these goals while you're still in high school?
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. So my parents are very supportive of what I'm doing with Opportunity and just starting with the Miracle organization. And so they are really encouraging, and they understand that I'm in high school. So it's really a lot of motivation because I have a lot kind of on my plate with academics and extracurriculars and starting businesses. And so they're really understanding. That's what I really like about them. And they really see the vision that I have, and they know how passionate I am about this. And personally, with my mom especially, we attended an event together called Women Empowered to Financially Thrive. It was hosted by the Money School of Delaware, and their mission is to democratize financial literacy education, because we understand that financial literacy isn't something that's taught in every school. Not everyone has the opportunity to have parents to teach them about finances. And a lot of times people graduate and go out into quote unquote the real world without any real financial literacy education. And it really affects you, especially early on in life. And I'll touch on this later, when you can really take advantage of things like compound interest, which will allow your money to double, and the rule of 72 and things like that. And so back to the workshop, I went with my mom, Women Empowered to Financially Thrive. It was just amazing. The person who coordinated it did a really good job of educating us more about financial literacy. And I really like how she emphasized how important it is for women to be able to manage their finances on their own without relying on their spouse or any other male in their life, and really demystifying the process of being financially literate and understanding all of this finance jargon, which can be a little jarring at first and really hard to understand. But I like how the workshop really broke it down, and it really emphasized how important it is, especially for women, to be financially empowered and to be knowledgeable about finances.
So at the young age of 18, you sound like you already are very financially empowered, that you are firm in what you need to do to plan ahead in order to continue on a road to financial freedom, and you being the master of your money versus you working to get the money. From that standpoint, what other things are you doing to educate yourself, or what actual practices are you using right now to organize your finances?
One of my role models is Sally Krawcheck. She's the CEO and co-founder of a company called Elevest. And their mission is to elevate women through financial literacy. Their slogan is literally invest like a woman because money is power. And she's someone that I really look up to because from a young age, I also had the belief that money is indeed power. And that's something that's like the premise of her business and her company that she started, is she really wants to empower women through financial literacy, because finance is something that it can really help you in your life if you take the time to understand it and get past the fact that, okay, some of these things in finance, especially the terms, I know can really trip people up and all of the jargon. And she really simplifies that in such a way that people can easily understand. And she really wants to help empower women, because there are a lot of things that can hold women back, like the gender gap and the wage gap and all these different things. And it's just like gender stereotypes where people think that women aren't good at math, and like a lot of finance is math and numbers and quantitative aspects. And people think that they just believe all these myths that women should not be handling finance. And she really demystifies that. And I really look up to her. She's someone that I really admire. And then personally, I try to educate myself with financial literacy. I take an elective course at my school. It's a financial literacy course. It's half semester. And I've really gained a lot of value from that. So with that class, we first started with financing, and then we learned about the different ways to pay for things. And we touched a little bit on loans, but I wasn't too keen on that. And so we touched on that. And then we talked about finances in terms of opening a savings account, checkings account, all these different ways to save your money. And then my favorite part, though, was investing. It was really money making money. That's how I think of investing, is using your money to make more money. And that can really help you long term. And so that's kind of why my favorite book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I took the time to read that like the middle of last school year, and I've since read it again. And I think I actually plan on reading again this summer, because I just gained so much value and so much knowledge from reading that book. And he really simplifies, like Sally Krawcheck does with Elevest. She really simplifies financial literacy in a way that's digestible and easy to understand. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's such a huge thing when someone can explain, like you said, all these big terms and this jargon that's used that make people want to shy away from organizing their finances or feeling like it's too complicated a subject for them to deal with. Someone really has the gift of being able to articulate something in a way that everyone can understand. It draws people in, and it encourages them to get the education that they need so that they can be financially free. So it's great that you found two resources that were able to help you break it down, demystify money, and make you feel really comfortable in your understanding and gaining knowledge. Let's switch gears a little bit. What would you say is the hardest thing about entrepreneurship as a new entrepreneur?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say the hardest thing is with starting anything new, it's a little scary and you feel like there's no instructions for you on what to do. You've kind of just have to figure it out. And in order to do what you need to do, you need mentors and people who have kind of done it before to help you and give you advice, because it's something that you can't go at alone. You really need people who are willing to advise you and mentor you, because it's not something that's easy to navigate. There's no like, do this, do this, do this. It's kind of like very self-directed and unpredictable, because life is unpredictable. So That's kind of the biggest struggle that I hear people face with entrepreneurship, is just having some sense of direction and what to do next, and making sure that you're making the right decisions when you need to be making the right decisions.
For sure. Let's talk a little bit about how you're planning for your future now. So you're a senior in high school. You want to go off to college. Is that correct?
Yes.
And have you saved up for college? What kind of process are you in? Because everybody knows college costs money. So there's scholarships and there's grants and all sorts of different things. So how are you planning financially to be able to take care of college?
I recently actually just finished all of my college apps. It was such a relief. And now that that's all out of the way, I'm thinking more about financing college. And so for me, I'm really focused on getting merit scholarships for academics and also having money saved up. But I've heard from this book that I read by someone who was able to secure $500,000 in scholarships, even though she was able to pay for college, but she was able to secure $500,000. And in her book, she talked about how she really doubled down on getting scholarships her senior year. Like, she would look everywhere for scholarships because there are billions of dollars in scholarships out there that people just don't take advantage of. There's so many private institutions that will give scholarships. They'll have an essay, or there's different scholarships out there that people can really seize scholarship opportunities. And so for me, I'm really focusing on applying to different scholarships for academics, academic merit, extracurriculars, things like that, so that I can be able to finance my education, so I can have money that I have and not be able to worry about loans or anything, because college is really expensive. And I've seen the cost of college rise over the years. And so when you get scholarships, it kind of gets you that peace of mind that, okay, you put in all this work in high school, and this is kind of like a way to get a reward for all of your efforts and be able to be calmly thinking about college in such a way that, you know, I have this covered financially, because college is a really big cost.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point that you bring up, is the number of scholarships that are available to people if you just go out and look for them. And I think the biggest drawback is sometimes people say, well, where do I look? How do I get started in that process? And you said that you read a book about a young lady who got $500,000 in scholarships. So it's not always a Google search that's going to lead you to where you want to go. You got to do a little bit of research, maybe find a book and read the whole book to find out what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Learn from people who have done it. I'm always interested to see all these people who get so much money in scholarships. And I'm like, you know, if you have money saved up for college, you can save that for something else. If you get enough scholarship to pay for your college, you don't have to worry about putting your own money towards it, because education is a very big investment. And so I read her book. I wish I could remember what it was called, but it was a really great book. And basically what I'm trying to do is reverse engineer what she did. So I'm learning, okay, what did she do? I need to do that as well, because I want to be able to pay for college through outside sources.
Yeah, I think it's very important. So do you know what you want to major in college, and if there's work after college, or is it straight up entrepreneurship?
Yes. So I am very interested in economics. There's some schools that I'm applying to that allow you to have an independent major where you study essentially what you want. And so I would like to combine a study of economics, psychology, and computer science. I'm really fascinated by those subjects, and they're really interesting to me.
Do you think that you would find a job or a career in that field, or do you think that you would use what you learn in college to further your own entrepreneurial efforts?
Well, what I'm interested in is I would like to go into some management consulting after college, and also with continuing with entrepreneurship and being able to, like I said earlier, I believe about conscious capitalism through entrepreneurship, elevating humanity through business. So I'm really interested in the social side of entrepreneurship. So definitely I see myself continuing along that path with entrepreneurship, but also having a career as well. So I would like to do some management consulting and work in finance as well.
Okay, so something that came to my mind, I know you said you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Can you tell us a few of the things that you learned while reading that book?
Yes, definitely. So he said some of the main subjects for financial literacy are accounting, investing, understanding markets, tax law, and entrepreneurship, and finding business opportunities and seizing business opportunities. And so for me personally, the first thing I did, well, I've had for a while, is a savings account. And I recently read that for your savings account to be really effective is you want to automate your deposits so that, you know, you can't blame yourself, or you can't make excuses for not putting aside money every week or every 2 weeks. So when you automate your deposits, it really makes it easier to save.
Amen. I love that. That is My number one principle. I do lots of talks for young professionals, and that is one of the easiest tips that you can always offer up. They say, well, what is a tip? And I'm saying automate, automate, automate,
Hmm.
making sure that you're taking that money out, it's out of your way, and then you're working with whatever's left over from the beginning. I always say, put your oxygen mask on first, because you can't help the person next to you if you don't help yourself by putting that money away for whether it's a rainy day, whether it's for retirement, something down the road, but putting that money to the side and then planning with what you have left is a great principle. So,
So true.
what else did you learn?
Also, I learned about stocks, and this is my personal experience. So the very first stock trade that I made, I invested in a company called Blue Apron. It was a hot startup at the time, and I got really excited about the fact that they were having their IPO. And I did some speculating actually, and I read the Wall Street Journal, and it was basically saying that this is a buy. And I bought it. Unfortunately, it didn't do so well. I ended up losing money on it. And so I eventually had to sell it off because it just kept going down and down and down. And I didn't want to keep losing more money. And so that experience really taught me about this whole idea of speculation and like being able to understand markets. Like in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad touches on that you should really study markets and make sure that you understand it for yourself. So now in school, we do something in our financial literacy class called the stock market game. So it's not with real money. So we're really preparing ourselves to start researching and, like in the book says, understand markets before making a buy decision. And so that's really helping me. And I hope that I can take those skills and translate them into really like when I'm actually investing with real money. And that I just learned from this mistake that I made investing a bad investment. Instead of feeling down about it, I kind of use it as a learning experience so that I hope that I can make better decisions later on.
I think that's a really good point as well, is the idea of educating yourself so that you can get out there. And then sometimes you have to get out and test the water and make a mistake in order to learn from the mistake and know what to do differently. But I think another good point you brought up is the idea of kind of like stock picking. You invested in one thing, but generally we talk about like diversified portfolios and understanding the market and stuff like that. So, when you have your eggs in one basket, you're kind of gambling on it. And that's where the speculative nature comes from. But when it's a part of a big overall portfolio that you've built, then it, limits that risk. So I think it's really interesting now that you're learning about that in high school.
Exactly. And it's really interesting. And then I told my teacher about my experience and we started talking about mutual funds. So with the mutual fund, you're able to you're basically owning multiple stocks at a time. And that's a little bit lower risk kind of, I believe. So he showed us a pyramid and it showed the risk. So going on up, it gets riskier and riskier. So it starts at like your savings account and it goes up to like derivatives and options and things like that are a little bit more high risk, higher reward in most cases. And I'm sure you're familiar with the whole cryptocurrency thing that's going on right now, the cryptocurrency boom, I guess you could call it. I don't know.
Yes.
So I've been really reading into that a lot. And so a lot of people are comparing Bitcoin right now to the dot-com boom and how like back in the day, people were seeing the internet as something very obscure. They're like, oh, this may or may not be big in a couple of years. And so a lot of people are speculating saying, this is Bitcoin today. Bitcoin today is parallels with the dot-com boom of back in the day. And so I've been reading into Bitcoin a lot more. I joined Coinbase. I'm considering investing in Ethereum. Which is currently the cheapest one per share. Last time I checked, it was like 200 something per share. Bitcoin is at is it at 17,000 now or something per share? It's really interesting how that is going. And the other day I heard about Kodak. Kodak has been kind of dormant for some time, but then they announced that they're having their own currency, their cryptocurrency, and their stock shot up like 100 something % last time I checked. And I was like, wow, this is really getting hyped up.
What would you say to people who are interested in that world about the amount of education you need before you dive off the ledge and, don't just do something because it's trendy?
Yes.
What would your advice be there?
Yeah, I definitely understand that it's super trendy right now and it's very easy to follow the hype without really educating yourself. So I would say read as much about it as you can and ask questions. That's kind of what I'm doing. I haven't invested it yet and it's fairly new. So a lot of people are still just trying to figure out themselves. And right now, I feel like it is all really just speculation. Like, where will this go in the next few years? Some people have gotten rich off of it. When you're talking about trends, people often feel like they're left behind if they're not getting a part of it. And so that makes people make really rushy decisions and just get into something that they don't know anything about. And so I think before you invest in anything, you should always make an informed decision. That's something that I've learned in the little time that I've done investing. And so another thing that I'm really focusing on for my own personal finances is this summer, I'm taking real estate investing classes and like real estate sales classes. So I would become a licensed real estate professional and learn a bit more about the investing side as well. And so right now, I really think that real estate is something that is a great investment, I think long term. And so Robert, in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he really talks a lot about real estate investing. That's a big part of the book. And so I really want to learn that space a little more. So I've been seeking mentors who are in that space, and just so I can learn more about how to be a real estate investor in the investment pyramid. When I think about the investment pyramid, I think about bonds. I've been looking into government bonds. And the reason why government bonds specifically is because I learned recently in class that corporate bonds aren't insured. And so in class, we were reading about this one lady who invested $10,000 in a corporate bond. It had a 7-year maturity rate. And what ended up happening was the company went down under and she lost her money because the bond isn't insured if it's a corporate bond. So I've been looking into government bonds. If you ever Google investment risk pyramid, you'll see, like I said before, it'll go from savings account at the very bottom. It's very safe, low risk, and then it'll go up and up and up to more riskier type of investments. So I'm kind of just like starting going up the pyramid, exploring different things.
Yeah, I think you brought up two really good points. One, you talked about looking for mentors to help you with your interest in real estate investing. And I think it's a great thing for the listeners to hear that you're never too young to go out and find someone who knows more, or too old for that matter, to go out and find someone who knows more about a subject than you and ask them to mentor you through something. If you're interested in a topic, there's somebody who's an expert at that topic and they can teach you more about it. And people are always willing to share their information and excited to share information with someone who's eager to learn. People love to teach. So finding a mentor when you find a subject that you're interested in is, I think, really great advice. And then also you're 18 and you're getting ready to go off to college and you have all these organized classes that are up and coming and you're in school full time. But here you are looking for a real estate class and you said you're going to take that this summer. So once again, you're never too young or too old, and it doesn't have to be an organized college program or a certificate program. It could be a one-off class at a community college, or there's, different classes you can buy online. So you're never too young or too old to start educating yourself about a topic that you're interested in by taking a course. So I just really applaud you for bringing those things up and for taking it on despite all the other things you have on your plate. You're interested, you're intrigued, and you're willing to invest the time that it takes to really educate yourself.
And to your point, I think honestly, the best investment that you can make is an investment in yourself. Like you said, really seeking outside knowledge if you have to, like books, taking courses, just to develop yourself personally. Like for me, I'm always trying to improve my leadership skills. I'm always trying to improve my ability to interact with people. I think personally, for what I'm interested in business, it's really all about people. And so I really focus on building relationships with people and helping other people out, because that's a huge part of what I do. And also, I think for everyone, we should always be thinking about how can I be better than the person that I was yesterday? Because really, oftentimes, the only person that you really have to compete with is yourself. And you always want to constantly be learning, constantly be improving, and don't be complacent. Always think, okay, even though I'm good at this, I've done this and this and this, like, how can I be better? Just not being satisfied with anything, just always wanting to learn. And so with that, I'm going to touch a little bit about entrepreneurship and some kind of the side projects that I do. I've been doing a lot of public speaking. I'm looking to do more of events in public speaking, to talk with more organizations and companies, and really focusing on my social enterprises like Opportunity and the Miracle Organization. And then one of the things that Robert touched upon in his book is intellectual property is actually can be an investment. When you're being creative, you can really benefit from that. So like he does a lot of books, courses, research and patents can be forms of intellectual property that can pay you royalties and be really good to you over time as investments and ways to bring more income to you.
I think it's wonderful that you have those things lined up for yourself and that you have other goals and things that you're trying to achieve. And pretty much you're diversifying your portfolio by having multiple different streams of income that you can pursue, and also multiple different interests of things that you can do intellectually to further educate yourself and also increase your value. All right. So just a couple of last questions. One is, why do you feel it's important that people get talking about money? You're 18 years old and you decided to come on this show and share your money memoir. And I think it's a testament to being open and transparent and excited to tell people about ways that they can invest in themselves and really achieve financial freedom. But what would you say to people about the importance of talking about money?
I think talking about money is something that should be very open and that people should be comfortable with, because a lot of times people are too afraid. Because I know in a lot of workplaces, I've heard that it's not allowed for you to share your income or how much you're earning with your coworkers. Money is just a very uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. And I think that's just super weird, because when you talk about money with people, when you talk about your finances, okay, so I understand that you're opening yourself up and you're vulnerable to criticism and other people judging you based on how you manage your money. But when you do that, it's actually a good thing, because you're able to get feedback and insight from other people. So I think it's actually really beneficial, because other people can learn from you and you can learn from other people. So I think it should be a very open thing to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you surround yourself with people you feel comfortable sharing it with. So when you do share it, it's not because, and if someone asks you, they're not asking because it's a gossipy sort of thing that they want to use to compare themselves against you. But a conversation can be had with whatever information is being shared so that both sides can be further educated. When you have good intentions, I think it always sparks the inspiration for people to really move up to the next level and further educate themselves. Whereas, if you do it because you want to compare yourself and you're so caught up in the this versus that, you're not really in a good place to receive the information. And I think that's what holds people back. But if you share with good intentions and you surround yourself with people you believe have good intentions, then this should be a topic that's easy to talk about, because you all want to lift each other up. You all want to see each other do well, and you all want to be more educated about the proper strategies with your income and being financially stable. So we just have a little wrap up at the end. It's kind of a lightning round, if you will. Just kind of short answers, not one word answers, but are you ready?
Yes.
All right. You have $20 in your pocket right now. What do you spend it on?
Do I have to spend it? Can I invest it?
You can do whatever you want. It's your $20.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking like $20, I could put that in my savings account and kind of grow that a little bit. Just even though it's just by a little bit, I would be able to use that money for something else later, most likely. Unless there was something that I really needed.
All right. What is your worst money habit?
I think before I started this whole automation thing, my worst money habit was forgetting to contribute to my savings weekly.
Got it. What strategy are you using to contribute? Are you putting like a certain percentage aside, or?
I kind of right now it's just like a fixed amount, or if I get money throughout the week for other things, like if I just find money in my room sometimes from like field trips, or when I don't spend money on something, I'll just take that money and put it in my savings.
Awesome. Okay. So what's something that you do for fun that doesn't cost anything?
In a few months, we're going to DC as our senior class trip. And we picked DC because there are a lot of things you can do there and it's all free. So that's something that I like to do, even though we have to pay to be able to go on the trip. But while you're there, you don't have to pay for much besides food, because you can see all these sites for free.
And yet another form of education, something that can be fun, educational, and is free. Okay. What's the worst advice you've ever received?
That investing is too risky.
Ooh, yeah. Let's go with the best advice you've ever received.
I would say diversification is definitely one of the best advices that I've received, especially from reading like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He really focuses on the different types of income streams that you can have. So he talks about like earned income, passive income, portfolio income. Because if you limit yourself to like, for instance, I know he focuses on saying that majority of Americans focus solely on earned income. And it's really not an effective way to live life and being able to achieve your financial goals. You can't do that with just your earned income alone for most people.
All right. And last but not least, so at Worth Winning, we have two models. And one of them is it's not about the numbers, but about the strategies. I think that we focus way too much on the amounts and comparing numbers than the actual knowledge that's needed for us to experience any real kind of growth. So with that said, our final question is, can you share something with us that you would like to improve about your finances in the upcoming year?
I would really like to learn the stock market a little bit more. That's something that I've been studying for a while through the stock market game. So that's a really big goal for me, is to be able to learn the stock market and then the real estate part. So like taking the classes and really putting what I learn into action.
I think that's excellent. All right. I know I said one last question, but I didn't even ask you if you have any advice for our listeners. What would you share with the listeners as advice on how to be open and organize their finances?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say start with assessing your current financial situation. So like talking with you today really allowed me to think about, okay, what is my current financial situation? So I think the first step is really figuring out where you are right now with your finances. And then from there, set goals to where you want to be. There's one book, I like books, if you can tell. There's a book that I read called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the first thing he says is begin with the end in mind. So like with your goals, you're thinking about where do I want to be in X amount of time and how can I get there? So the first part is setting the goal and then thinking, what are the action steps that I need to get to where I want to be? And to that point, financial freedom is arguably one of the best types of freedom out there because it allows people to really spend more time doing what they love rather than having to think of, oh, I need money. I need to do this and this and this. I need money. That's kind of why you hear people say that, especially with student loans, people say they're in crushing debt. And that's really scary to hear because sometimes, okay, money is powerful and it can be very beneficial and a positive thing, but can also be a negative thing. So if you don't take care of your money, then things can go pretty sour pretty quickly. And another piece of advice I would say is always be learning. Nobody knows it all. You should just always be constantly trying to learn things, ask questions, be humble, because sometimes admitting that you don't know something requires you to humble yourself. And you can ask anyone for advice. It doesn't matter if they're older than you, if they're younger than you. You can learn something from anyone and everyone. So I would say like self-educating is a really big part of financial literacy because our traditional school systems don't really teach financial literacy. And it's really sad. And I see some schools that are moving in the right direction, but most schools aren't really teaching financial literacy. And too many people, if they don't learn it from their parents, and they don't learn it in school, where else are you going to learn it besides educating yourself? So I would say self-education is a really big part and learning by doing. So I mentioned my Blue Apron investing mistake. I learned from that experience. I learned so much from making that mistake. So like go out there, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to take risks. A lot of people say investing is too risky. That's probably the worst advice I've ever received in my life because the thing is, when you go out and you invest, you learn so much by doing that, having that experience. So don't be afraid. Don't procrastinate also. Don't procrastinate on saving and investing because there's things like compound interest and the rule of 72. So when you take those two things and you talk about them with time, it can really be beneficial to you long term. So that's kind of like my advice with finances.
So wise. And I think it's so important that you said, don't wait for someone to educate you. Don't wait for information to be brought to you. Go out and seek the information. Educate yourself. That is so important in anything that you want to learn or do or be. There's information in books all over the place, and the library is still free all across the country. So don't just take what you're being fed by someone else. Go out and educate yourself and look for information elsewhere. Miracle, thanks so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. And where can everybody find you?
Sure. So I'm on Twitter at Mir Olatunji. So MIROLATUNJI. I also have a Speaker Hub page. So I do a lot of speaking and consulting.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show. I hope you enjoyed listening to Miracle's Money Memoir. Our goal on Worth Listening is to provide you with information that empowers you to take action in organizing your finances so that you can pursue your goals. Miracle impressed upon us the difference that financial freedom makes. She shared why financial literacy is so important and how she's learning about finances and entrepreneurship by keeping herself educated. We have 3 words of the day today. Why? Because these 3 words are super trendy and get tossed around in all sorts of confusing ways. Our words of the day are entrepreneur, startup, and small business. Simply put, entrepreneurs are individuals that find a solution to a problem and build a business around it. When you think startup, think about a group of people that want to create a business that grows rapidly. They're usually interested in using outside capital to make that happen. Now, small businesses are generally not looking for outside capital and are okay with finding a niche, doing their thing, and growing a slow but steady business as their target market finds out about their services and decides that they need them. I'm sure someone will fight me on my definitions, but I believe most are breathing a sigh of relief because it's so much clearer now, right? Anyway, I'm off my soapbox now. Thank you for tuning in today. If you have questions, suggestions for guests, or would like to share your money memoir, please contact us through our website, worth-listening.com. We hope you found this episode worth listening to.